All right, good morning and welcome back. Today we are going to start talking about the law of sines. Now, this past few days we talked about SOHCAHTOA, how to solve the right triangle, solve the missing sides of it, but we can only do that for a right triangle. Sometimes you will have triangles that are either acute or obtuse, and we will need to use a different method. So for that, we can use our law of sines. Now, this is when we have if we set up a ratio, you can see here the sine of A divided by A, that will be equal to the sine of B divided by B, which is equal to the sine of C divided by C. Now, if you're not sure what we mean by this A, the B, and the C, okay, basically the capital letters, so are A, B, and C when they are capital, that is our angles, okay? And then little a, little b, and little c, those are our sides. Now, not only do we have the capital A, the capital B, the capital C, the little a, the little b, the little c, we also know that they will be opposite of each other. So if we look here, do you see how there's a little a for side, that is opposite of angle A over here, okay? Meanwhile, little b is opposite of this angle, 45, that would be our B, and 95 and 5, those are our C's. So if I wanted to, I could label this A, B, and C on the corners like that. But anyway, when we are going to solve, as you can see here, we have a 95-degree angle. So right away, it's not a right triangle. If you have trouble remembering, just remember with the right triangle, we would always start by labeling the hypotenuse. But here we can't see a hypotenuse. Okay, there is no right angle, which means there's no hypotenuse, and therefore it is not a right triangle, which means we have to use a different method. Now here it says, what does solve the triangle mean? And solving the triangle is when we are asked to, here I'll do this in red, we're asked to find each side and angle measurement. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out is when you are solving these, make sure, put a note for yourself, make sure you are in degree mode, because we are dealing with degrees, so we need to be in degree mode. Now, to do this, if your calculator is not in degree mode, remember, we click here to mode, right beside the second button to mode, then go down, go over, hit degree, hit enter, then I just hit second, quit. Okay. Now, to solve this one, the first thing we can solve is this missing angle. That will be easy, because hopefully you remember, every triangle in the world, the three angles add up to 180. That does not change here. We have 45 plus 95. That will equal 140. Okay, now at this point, we can just take 180 minus that 140. We're left with 40 degrees, which is what angle A is equal to. If angle A is 40 degrees, now we can solve, since the reason we needed to do that is without that missing angle, we could not find A. In order to find a missing side using law of sines, we have to not only have one set, when I say a set, I mean an angle on the opposite side, and then we also need to either have an additional angle or an additional side. Okay, so we can do this here. So if we look here, we will go ahead and solve. So let's start. I'll do this in red so it stands out. So we know that the sine of 95 divided by 5, that's for this one. Sine of the angle divided by the opposite side, okay? That will be equal to the sine of, and it doesn't matter which one we find first. I'll go ahead and find A first, so sine of 40 divided by A. Now we'd cross multiply, so we'll get A times the sine of 95 will equal 5 times the sine of 40. And at this point, all now we need to do to get a by itself is divide by the sine of 95. I do it to one side, I got to do it to the other. Now to put this into our calculator, we already switched it into degree mode. So now we can do 5 times, we said it's the sine of 40, close the parenthesis, divided by, all of that is divided by the sine of 95. I close it, and I will hit enter, and I get 3.2 if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth. So A is equal to 3.2. Now, we need to find B as well, and when we're solving for B, everything will be the same. Sine of 95 divided by 5, that ratio still exists. Oops, not by B. Sorry, sine of 95 divided by 5 equals, now instead of sine of 40, it's going to be 45 because that's what angle B is, divided by little b. Now we'll do the exact same thing. The only difference will be instead of this sine of 40, it'll be a 45. To save a little time on your calculator, if you hit second enter when you have one of these calculators, I'm not sure how all the apps will do it, but on these calculators, it just puts exactly what you just had. Okay, so then I can go and I can arrow over to the left, and from there, instead of 40, I will change this to 45. Everything else stays the same. Hit enter, and we get an answer of 3.5 when we round. And that is what B equals. All right. And at this point, we have found the 2 missing sides and the 1 missing angle. So we have solved the triangle because we found all the missing parts. Now, example 2. On this one, similar thing, except we are finding one specific side here, side E. And also, we don't have a picture. So you don't have to, but I think it's a good idea to draw a picture. In this case, we see angle E is 152, so we know there's an obtuse angle somewhere. And it doesn't need to be perfect, but if that is angle E, that means 152 here. Meanwhile, angle F is going to be 8 degrees. Okay, and we don't know what this other angle is, but we know that it's D, and across from it is 24 centimeters. Now my end goal is to find what the missing E is. However, in order to do this, we have to have a complete set. Okay, when I say a complete set, I mean both a side and its opposite angle. So right now, we don't know what E is, we don't know what F is, so we can't use those. We do know what the side D is 24. The opposite angle here, the opposite angle is big D, but we don't know how to solve, or what that is yet, but we can solve it. Okay, all we have to do is take the 152 plus the 8. That gets us 160. Now that third one, all 3 angles add up to 180. So we can subtract that 160 from 180. Left with 20 degrees. That goes right here in the corner. So 20 degrees. Now at this point, we can solve. So we know that it's the sine of 20 divided by 24 will equal, then it's going to be the sine of, now on this one, we are trying to find what E is. So which side is E? And that is 152 here. Okay, so at this point now, we will cross multiply. And then don't forget, you got to divide by the sine of 20 here. And we will find what E is. So once again, 24 times the sine of 152, we can close it, divided by the sine of 20. Close it again, hit enter, and we will get 32.9. Okay, now on this one we have a label. It was in centimeters for the other side, so 32.9 centimeters. All right, on to number 3. This one is the same approach in that we have the information, we don't have a picture. So once again, Let's think V is 21, W is 136, so we know there's an obtuse angle again. So we'll put that 136 there. That's our angle W. V, since it's a triangle, it doesn't really matter which one's on which spot, but V, W, X. Okay. Now W is 136, V is 21 degrees. Meanwhile, it says that side W, so that's over here, is 182 centimeters. If you're wondering how I knew that one was over there, it's because it's angle W, it has to be across. Now, just so you are aware, the biggest side will always be across from the biggest angle. So since this angle is the biggest, 182 is the biggest we could have. If we get an answer bigger than that, we made a mistake. But our end goal is to find the length of x. That will go over here. But in order to solve that, I need to know what my angle is here for x. So once again, 21 plus 136. That gives us 157. We'll take this, 180 minus 157, and we'll be left with 23 degrees. Okay, so now all we have to do is set it up and solve. So the sine of 136 divided by the opposite side there, so 182. That ratio is equal to the ratio for the sine of that angle, 23, divided by little x, which we don't know yet. Now when we cross multiply, once again we'll divide. So you can just multiply these and then divide by that one. So 182 times the sine of 23. Oops, I hit it twice. Oh dear. 182 times the sine of 23. Close the parenthesis. All of that will be divided by the sine of 136. And I'll close my parenthesis, hit enter. And if I round to the nearest tenth, I'll get 102.4. Once again, this is in centimeters. All right. Now example 4 here. This time it asks us to solve the triangle, so we'll do the exact same thing. STU, notice S and T are both acute, and we can find that missing angle if we want first. 73 plus 71 is 144. If we take that away from 180, we'll find our missing angle to be 36 degrees. That is what U is equal to. So it is an acute triangle here. All three of these angles are less than 90. And if we have S, T, U, okay, so T is 71 degrees. We just found U to be 36 degrees. And S is 73 degrees. Now little u is 40. And before we even solve this, we know that both little t and little s will have to be bigger than 40 because they're across or opposite of angles that are bigger. So let's go ahead and solve now. We'll do the sine of 36 divided by 40. That will be equal to, and we can do it twice actually because we'll do this for both of them. Sine of 36 divided by 40. That will be equal to both the sine of 73 divided by s, and then the sine of 71 divided by little t. And that is an s here. It's kind of hard to see. Okay, we cross multiply. So we'll start with s. Let me move this so we can see it. We said it's going to be 40 times the sine of 73, close it, divided by the sine of 36, close it, hit enter, and we will get 65.1, and that's what our little s is. Now in this one, it really saves us some time to just hit second, enter. So once again, if I hit second, enter on the TI-84 and the TI-84 app, I get the exact same thing. But now I need to arrow over instead of 73, I'm going to change this to 71, hit enter, and we have our answer, 64.3. Now, hopefully it makes sense. 73 was just a little bigger than 71. Meanwhile, this one, 65.1, is just a little bigger than 64.3. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. Now, the final problem I want to look at today is a story problem. Imagine we have these three friends, Alexis, Brianna, and Carmen. They're throwing a frisbee around in the backyard. Now, we know that Alexis is starting with it, and she throws the frisbee to Brianna. Okay, I'm going to put A to B. Brianna catches the frisbee, turns 50 degrees. So this is 50-degree turn. And then she throws it. It says 12 feet over here to Carmen. Carmen, meanwhile, catches it, turns 60 degrees, and throws it back to Alexis. So if that happens, it asks how far did Carmen throw the frisbee to Alexis. So right here, this is what we want. This is our little b. Okay. Now in order to solve this, remember, we have to have one set that's complete. Right now we have angle B, angle C, and side little a. We don't have a complete set, but we can find what angle A is. If we add 50 plus 60, 110. Then we'll take 180 minus that 110, and we'll get 70 degrees. So that is what side A is, or little a is. Sorry, angle A is. At this point now, we can set it up. Sine of 70 divided by 12 equals, and then we know it's going to be the sine of 50 divided by b. We don't know what that is. Okay, we can cross multiply, solve for b. Now, the one thing we do know is that since a was 70, it has to be less than that because b is across from 50. It's less than 12 feet. So it's somewhere between 0 and 12. So if we look here, we'll do 12 times the sine of 50 divided by the sine of 70. And I forgot a parenthesis. And if you forget the parenthesis, it can screw some things up. So I want to retype that. All right. Hit enter. We get 9.78. So if we round 9.8, and our label was feet. All right. That is all for today. If you have any questions, please reach out. Let me know. There is another brief assignment on Delta Math, but let's keep working hard. Keep going. I don't want you to fall behind, and some of us are starting to. So if you need help, reach out to me. Hope you guys have a great day.